And when you get back, you're expected to marry pretty quickly, usually at age 21 or 22. I actually left a little later, so when I came back, I think I was almost 23. And I met my first wife, Tammy, pretty quickly. We met at church. I was really into it. Like that was my hobby. And she was amazing. After we went on a first date, we spent every waking moment together. And that's really magic. I found out later, of course, that's not the usual thing, but we were inseparable from day one, and we really, really got along. And within 3 weeks, I had proposed to her. And then from August to March, we were engaged. So just like 6 months engaged. And that's not very long. It's not very long. But we were just young and dumb enough to make it. And of course, after that, when you're Mormon, you don't really question the narrative. Your life sort of has this script, and it never even entered my mind to do anything else until much, much later. But that's a story for another day. And anyway, I didn't think I would get married again. I dated for 4 years, and really that was an experience that I had to have to understand myself and understand other people and understand my current wife, who I met early on in that process. And she also had to grow and understand herself and me as well to get to the point where I was, I'm not going to say ready. I don't think it should be this automatic thing. You shouldn't be like, oh, well, everybody gets married, so you just do it. No. That's not for everybody. And I really think nowadays a lot of people are making custom arrangements and really thinking about what it is that they want to get out of the institution. And for me, that's what marriage is. Marriage is simply a framework for what's really inside of it, which is the relationship itself. And the relationship itself, it takes time to build it up, for it to be harmonious and for it to be vibrant. And so I'm having a good time. In case you're one, that was like the long way to getting around saying, hey, things are going well for me. And certainly in that aspect as well. My new wife and I, her name is Luli, by the way, rhymes with Julie, and it takes a while to get used to. Some people like Leilu, Layla, Leela. Excuse me, they get the vowels mixed up. And in many ways, we're very much the opposite. I'm extremely outgoing, gregarious, just so extroverted. And she is extremely introverted and really doesn't have social media, doesn't have a group of friends. Home life, me and the child. I have a child with her named Audrey. And you're welcome, by the way, you're welcome to be my Facebook friend and sort of follow what's going on. And so we are very much the opposites. And yeah, she's been wonderful. Being married to Luli is like being on a placid river, just floating along, so easy, so wonderful, and just brilliant. I love it. And anyway, what else? Oh, I wanted to talk about 9th edition, and really, it's not a new edition. It's like one of those 0.5 situations. They're obviously not going to rehaul the entire rule set. I'm not even sure at this point if they're going to come out with a new rule book. I think they will. And in the initial announcement, they talked about, don't throw away your old rule books because those are still good. Yeah, but if you're going to make new codexes, those really do overwrite the old ones. But the thing is, there's no reason to buy the codexes anymore. like, there are reasons, of course, but the original reason, which is you need this book to play the game, well, that's not true. It's a little bit misleading, because you can't just buy your army book, look through it, and have all the information you need to play. You don't have that. The points you need the General's Handbook. You need FAQs, all the updates. They're now doing like campaign books, like the Psychic Awakening thing, I think is on book 7. So 7 books to have bought, I think at $40 each, $280 worth of books to have them all on your shelf. And I'm just like, come on. But apparently they're doing like an online army builder, and you'll get access to that when you buy your book. So I see some improvements there. Really, there's a website, I got turned on to it via Facebook, called Wahapedia. And that is basically, somebody created this online thing that is so easy to reference and has all the up-to-date rules. So when you see a unit entry, it has all the points on it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's what you want. That's all I needed. I need that. GW should be doing that. Why haven't they been doing that all along? Oh, because then people wouldn't buy the books. So I really, at this point, I don't know if I'm up for buying yet another round of books. And you're talking to the guy that bought the last 8 rounds of books. So many books. I calculate probably $8,000 on books over the years. That's just, I can't wrap my head around it. Because if you buy the expansion and you buy the art, so usually in a typical month there will be a new army book and a new expansion for both Age of Sigmar and 40K. That's 4 books a month. And there's even more. I'm certain if you tracked it, maybe someone in the comments can talk about that, and we can sort out, like, to keep up on all the books, not the fiction books, and include Forge World too, but to keep up on all the hardbacks with rules in them, how much would you need to spend every month? Off the top of my head, I'm going to say $200 a month. And for a company like Games Workshop, that's revenue that they're not going to give that up. That's like, because there's a certain percentage of people that buy every single book for both games, and even the supplemental games. Like I've got, excuse me, I ran out of oxygen. I've got Necromunda, which are very handsome books. I love them. I love the feeling of acquiring a book, of owning a book, of reading a book. So really, here I am, kind of being crunchy about it. But the fact is, what am I complaining about? I don't have to buy them. And the fact is, with a site like Wahapedia out there, I don't got to buy them. I can go up, I can look up everything I need. When I was doing my Eldar in Escalation, that's all I needed. I just needed to go on, find the things, transfer them to my own homebrew spreadsheet, and just make my own army list. Used to make army lists on paper, like back in the 90s. And I remember that. I remember mapping out armies, like physically drawing like the units as squares and rectangles for Warhammer Fantasy, and sort of like in a semicircle, writing down the things that I would need to get. That's very exciting. Those days are gone, of course, and but they're putting out so much. Wow, what's wrong with me? Excuse me. They're putting out so much cool stuff for Age of Sigmar, and the models are worth buying just to buy them, just because they're so gorgeous, so ridiculously gorgeous, and we're spoiled for choice. And now we're spoiled for choice with other game systems too, like like board games. I recently picked up, and super cheap by the way, some Zombicide Invader, which is science fiction figures. Oh, by the way, here's my plug. It's May 31st. This is the last day, guys, for the May special, which was half off for artistic license and simple painting. And so we're here. And my bandwidth is really good if you've got a giant Skaven army, a giant Orc army, even anything, even a Tau army. As long as we can pick the color scheme, we can just do it. We can do it so inexpensively. And if you can play this game at all, you could just have us do your army as well. And trade in models to take the edge off the expense as well. And I've got great programs for that too. So there you go. Yes, oh, and I have a couple of wholesale accounts too. I'll put a link in the liner notes for that. And that's basically where you pay a certain amount up front, but it's usually time and a half or double the money in terms of a service credit. And that's great for someone who, if you haven't made up your mind, great, just have it on tap. And I have quite a few people, not that many, but a handful who have these credits on tap, and when they get a new army, they have it done just perfect. All right, so what else? That was 9th edition. What else do I have going on? Oh, I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder 1st edition. And for, I won't repeat the history of it, but Pathfinder is a version of Dungeons and Dragons, started in 2008, and to my mind captures the essence of the game. However, over the course of 12 years, boy, that system, so many books came out, it was crazy. And but the good thing is, and the reason why my players love it, is you can make almost anything. Oh, you know, I got enough sleep last night. I think they say talking, you don't breathe, and that's why you have the yawn reaction. And I'm running, I have my own setting. I started playing Kingmaker, which is one of their adventures. And it's sort of a low fantasy sword and sorcery thing. And I am loving it. I'm having so much fun. I've got my favorite players showing up for it. And if you're local and you'd like to try out and take a spin, then by all means, get in touch with me. By the way, you should email me with topics to talk about. I'm very open. I'm interested in hearing from fans. Many of you have really nice things to say, and I definitely appreciate that. And so back to Dungeons & Dragons, I'm really enjoying it. I'm painting up figures for it. That's sort of my side hobby. Oh, lo and behold, Sean's side hobby is painting figures. And I just like to go to my local game shop, pick up a few things. Usually they have things for sale. And pick up some models and just paint them for fun and enjoy them, have them on display for a little while, and then go put them in their foam-lined tombs out in the storage place. And my collection of RPG figures is probably like well over 1,000. I made a video about it a couple months ago, and here we go. So again, just want to say, you don't hear me complaining about things. I don't bring my personal problems to the videos. And the fact is, I believe if I have personal problems, I'm generating that myself. Either I'm making them by perceiving them into existence, or I'm making them bigger by complaining about them and focusing on them. Like taking a wonderful life that's this huge, and there's this tiny little pothole there, and that's all I can talk about, this tiny little pothole. And every morning I wake up and I'm in the shower and I'm sort of grousing about this one little thing, and I make a little tiny thing into like a giant thing, which if I wanted to, with just a little bit of effort and better attitude, I could just erase that. And same thing for me, for my past. And by the way, I don't talk about this stuff because most people do not look at life this way. And a lot of people, when I talk to them about it, they get pretty offended. And so it's not helpful. Like my lovely wife, Luli, sometimes she'll be like, oh, I slammed my hand in the door. I'd be like, well, why did you want to do that? And she says, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to hurt myself. This is terrible. And I'm like, yeah, but no one else was around. Everything was inanimate objects. Why did you want to do that? And anyway, whether it's right or not, doesn't matter. It's, at the very least, it's an interesting, intellectual exercise to go in and say, well, what about it would make me want to have this? And there's a great book that addresses this along with many other things. It's called The Big Leap. And The Big Leap talks about self-sabotage a lot, and where people will pre-punish themselves for a pleasurable experience, or they'll punish themselves afterwards to sort of make up for it, or they'll injure themselves to avoid a task that they don't want to engage in. And so let me just give you a couple of examples of this from my own life. One, hold on a second. I know maybe that's not terribly polite. One is I was working late one night with this apprentice at the shop, and I was making terrain, and it was like dusty, it was late, I just wanted to go home. And I was thinking, I would just do anything to just not have to do this. And lo and behold, I had a serrated handsaw, and I stuck it in my arm by accident, and it went in about an inch. I think the scar's healed. Oh no, there it is. Yeah, I've got like a half-inch scar where I had the knife on display. If you go in the old videos, sometimes in the background you see this little knife, serrated knife, and yeah, it actually, I never cleaned it because I had a half an inch of plasma on it. And okay, so gross, right? But an emergency room trip later, I was at home and I got out of the task. And I really think I started that on my own. And then the other thing, oh, hi, honey. It's okay, you can just go about your business. The other time was I was dropping my kids off at like this kids program, and there was a stage, and everyone was just sort of milling around. I went to go jump on the stage, and I slipped, and I sprained my arm, which is agonizing. As anyone who's had a really bad sprain before, I was sure I broke it. And so I went to the emergency, to Instacare, and of course there was a reason why that I wanted to do that. It was because I was having too much fun. My brain internally has this lever that if it gets flicked, like if something is different enough, even if it's good, this part of the brain interprets that as too risky, and it puts an end to the fun. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. How did I get on that topic? Yeah, well, I was talking about complaining and perceiving things into existence. So recently, I've actually made a conscious effort to go up one step. Basically, get rid of the misery and be happy for happiness' sake. And because in the year 2010, man, looking back, I was hard to get along with. And I think that it was because I just made myself, I found things to be miserable about. My circumstances were quite pleasant. The company was doing really well at the time, but somehow I made it so that it wasn't. Things weren't going well for myself, and I didn't perceive it correctly. So now I've been opening those shutters in my mind and letting some of that sunlight come in, that ever-present sunlight, and just being happier and glad for the things that I have. And another topic that's of great interest to me is harmony. To be in harmony with the things that are going on around me. And that's something that I tend to do. I look at like things around, and they start to bother me, but then now I'm smarter. I'm like, oh, Sean, you're doing that thing you always do. Actually, things are good, but then you find some excuse to be miserable, and I'm like, nope, not gonna do that this time. And I've been consciously allowing myself to look at things in a more positive light. So anyway, that's what I have going on. And what else? Not much. I'm in the game room right now. I face this way because the light is better if I stand underneath those lights, it just lights my white hair up, and the lighting is actually better, like in this corner of the room. So yeah, that massive red Tau army, about 95% of it's going to get shipped off. Some of the things in it need alterations, and we finished a couple of tanks, a couple of cool resin tanks, but they're not put together, so there's really not much to see there. And wait, did Jonah put those away? Yeah, he did. That was the right thing. And I'd record my D&D games, but we're really just there to have fun, and maybe I will, but I use soundtracks for them. Oh yeah, here, let me go get something. Here. All right, here we go. These are miniatures I bought recently, and these only have like base coats on them. Yes, I know, this is super rough base coats. Settle down, they'll end up looking good. So here's this. This is a Remoraz by Deep Cuts, which I think is Wizards of the Coast. And this is a wyvern, a really cool cobra looking wyvern. That makes me happy. I've put them on different bases. Deep Cuts are good. I think those were like $8 or $12. But this is called, and I've showed you this before, this is called a bolette. And I've done it in yellow. It looks kind of like a banana. So, but the purple and yellow works. So this is a land shark. And I recommend, if you're a DM, that you know what, I'm going to talk about this on a different video, because I have a lot of DM ideas, and I want to get those on a separate channel. Well guys, that's all I got to say. It's May 31st, so check out the May specials. If it's June 1st, I'll let you get under the wire for that. And yeah, get that done. And we're doing great. Life is good. And I talk to my kids, I ask them how they're feeling. I ask them what their predominant emotion is, their predominant experience in life. And usually they say joy, that they're happy, they feel relaxed and contented. And that's good. What more could I ask for? I look at my children and I look at them as being successful already. And I think that's going to carry on into their adult lives. They're living in a different world. And I look at this world and I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, ugh. And, but the fact is, you can't step into the same river twice. I have a fundamental choice. I can either understand and harmonize with what's going on around me, or I can fight it. And either one of those is okay. There is a third option, which is just move into like a different reality and just be okay with that too. That's also nice. In this life, you experience so little of it. Such a no matter how open-minded you think you are, you're having a very narrow experience, I assure you. It's a very tiny slice. And the fact is, you're never going to have time to go on all those trips, to meet all those people. You can't do it. It's the nature of it. And because the universe and humanity is expanding, by definition, you can't ever catch up. Unless somehow you can tap into eternity. And that gets into other crazy things that I just think about. What if there were beings that lived forever? What would you do with eternity? Well, forgetfulness would be a boon. You could simply mind blank yourself over and over and over again and go live all those lives and have all those experiences. Or maybe not mind blank yourself. But here we are. All right, anyway, I'm going to make a separate video about DMing tactics and techniques. All right, well, thanks for tuning in. By all means, email me. It's bluetablepainting@gmail.com. And give me topics to talk about. Yes, by the way, I just blinked with one eye at a time. And give me some topics, or maybe some feedback is okay. But man, keep it positive, otherwise it goes away. Thanks. Bye.